Hey, everybody, and welcome back to the Still in Love podcast. This is episode number 3, and we are in our new season, which is season 3. And I am joined today by my handsome husband. And we are talking about what today?
Why does my spouse always have an attitude?
And this is not a personal podcast for today. This is just one that's it's just general. It's just general because your spouse hardly ever has attitude.
Well, actually, this is a personal one, and I wanted to talk about this because I wanted to let the world
in front of everybody. Okay.
Into our life.
Okay.
And I know this caught you by surprise today, what we're talking about. But I just want to ask you in front of the world.
Okay. Why do I always have attitude?
Why you always got attitude?
Man, it'd be a lot going on. It'd be a lot.
This is good. This is going to be good. So it's not about you. It's just about spouses that have attitudes and the effect that it causes in marriage when your spouse have an attitude or consistently have one. Because I think we all have an attitude
at some point.
But when you consistently have an attitude, it comes from a place and it's frustrating and it affects you.
Yep.
And not only does it affect you, it affects the people that you have an attitude with.
Yep. Or
it affects the people, not necessarily you have an attitude with, your attitude affects them.
Yes.
And so let's talk about it.
Okay. Well, I know in terms of a female, I believe our attitudes start If at first it feels like, let's define attitude.
Okay.
So we can be clear about. I would think an attitude could be defined as maybe being maybe mean or unpleasant, maybe a little difficult.
Standoffish,
yeah. Silent, don't want to be bothered ish.
Yep.
So I think for some of us, and I'm sure it has something to do maybe even psychologically with females, but I remember being young, I'm 8, 9. I remember attitudes that young. Now mind you, I was one of those women that I started my menstrual cycle very young. I was 10 years old. So a lot of things I think kind of woke up in that time. And so because of that, I don't want to be bothered. I don't want to be around people. Oh, everybody's getting on my nerves. I remember that even at a young age, ripe old age of 8. But what's funny is when you scroll on social media and sometimes you see like babies, you hear a lot of people now saying these 20, 24 and 23 and 22 babies are different, but they are like, they're coming and they're showing up with like little baby attitudes, like they're rolling their eyes, like they have something to say. It's a little bit of sass. So I don't know, obviously, God created us. So he is mindful of some of our struggles and such. But I can go back and remember very, very early, when attitude started. And it's just, I didn't want to be bothered. And when I look at my friends, we were all attitudinal at the same time, and it just continues. And some of us stay in it, and some of us,
But what do you think? I think, and we'll talk from both sides of it. I think a lot of guys really want to know, like, what's the deal with my wife? Like, it's like, 1 minute she's okay, the next minute she's not okay.
Ooh, brother.
1 minute, we last night we had a great time last night, and this morning I just woke up. I remember telling you that, like Sometimes I come in the house and at work, where I talk to you during the day and everything is so cool. And I come home and you're not talking to me.
I thought about some stuff on the way home.
Yeah.
Well, we probably had an interaction that I didn't like. And so, I don't want to talk right now. So, yeah.
Or it'd be a morning and and you're not talking to me, or you just upset, then you're not telling me what you're upset about. And I say this to you, I say, so look, the only thing I did was woke up. I just got up this morning, I just came home.
Sorry.
And, but I think it's a lot of people feel that way to where I just came home from work.
Yeah.
Everything was good.
Yeah.
And you were good and we talked.
Yeah.
I came in the house and now we're not talking.
Right.
And I don't know why we're not talking. And we may not talk the rest of the night. And so that's very frustrating. So what do you think a lot of that comes from?
Honestly, I think a lot of attitudes come from and you can't, this is unfortunately one of those things you can't put one blanket and one reasoning behind. There are a lot of reasons why your wife could be displaying what we're defining as attitude. One reason I know for sure, you mentioned we've been talking all day at work or whatever, and you come home and now it seems like I got an attitude. Well, sometimes it could be different reasons. For one, if I walk in the house and I'm looking at all the things that need to be done, immediately overwhelm sets in. I'm like, dang, I wash the clothes, but they need to be folded. Okay, there's dishes in the sink. There's this, there's that. I ask the kids to do this. They slow about moving. So sometimes it's external reasonings and factors that's going into why the attitude may rise up. Now, and I feel like it's I'm going to have two different responses here. Okay. Sometimes it's stress. Sometimes it's just if I have a lot, or I'm having to balance or focus on a lot, it's frustrating to have to do that. So what I feel, I am now outwardly expressing. And really, that's kind of how I see attitudes. It's something that I'm feeling. It's a fear. It's something that's made me angry or frustrated me or made me afraid, making me question something, me not feeling very good about myself. I can tell you I've had quite a few attitudes, especially about things that's in my control, but I'm not doing something about it, i.e. like my weight. Or if my hair is not on point, and it's frustrating. So, and I feel like attitudes work sort of like this. We feel something, and instead of us maybe taking a moment to decompress or taking a moment to fall back and really think about the why we're in the attitude, we just act on what we feel in the moment. And I think that's where the attitudes are. Yeah, and once they come out, sometimes it's hard to tame that, to keep that, under wraps. It reminds me of this movie. It's the one with the red panda. I can't think of the name of it. But her red panda, she couldn't stop it from coming out. She just had to get it under control. I would definitely say, there's a number of factors that come into it. Sometimes it's hormonal. As women, once a month, we have a reminder that we are a woman. At the core of it, sometimes I feel like maybe it's just stress. But again, there's a number of factors that could be where the attitude's coming from. Maybe not just one.
Maybe you can answer this question for the brothers, even for some of the sisters.
I feel like this is about to be loaded.
No, this not. So tell me, I think I know the answer though, but I want to hear this from a woman. Why it seem like whenever a woman is cleaning up, she got an attitude?
Well, let me tell you why.
Look, I know. Do you remember that, like growing up too?
Absolutely.
Like your grandmama cleaned up and she cleaned up with an attitude.
But I didn't grow up in a house like that, because if she was up, everybody was up. So no.
But I saw that question I think before, and it's like, why every time your mama cleaned up, she got whenever your mama cleaned up, she got attitude. Like,
well, I'm
she
gonna tell
cleaned
you
up
as a mama. I'm gonna tell you,
ain't nobody helping, and you by yourself, and you got it.
That's exactly why. Because I'm like, I asked you to do X, Y, and Z, and had you done it and done it right, I wouldn't have to be doing X and Z over. So when I say, hey, pick up your stuff, and hey, MJ, take your stuff down to the laundry room. When I say put it in the laundry room, I don't mean put it on the floor. That's why I got an attitude. Get it here and get it up off the floor. Put it in the bins. Or if I say, hey, Didi, when you're done with the dishes, put them up. Don't leave them on the rack. Put them up. I come in the kitchen and they're still on the rack. I'm not understanding, like, are both of my children working full-time jobs and I'm not aware? Or is it, to me, it just seems relatively simple. But that's why and if you notice that I have an attitude while I'm cleaning up, then that means somebody else is not working because you had time to notice that I had an attitude.
But sometimes the other person can start working and the attitude persists.
I don't agree. I don't agree.
It's just, and maybe it's once you got rolling, it's just think about everything. I got to do this and I got to do that.
Yes, absolutely.
And I think sometimes I think it persists.
Well, the best way to conquer that, if it's if your spouse has a cleanup attitude, then the best way to combat that would be to grab that rag out of their hand, grab that mop, grab that broom, grab the vacuum, and just start helping.
I don't know, because sometimes that when they get mad when they clean up, they're at a point of no return.
You know the key to that though. But let me tell you.
You want to?
No.
Pop you with the mop.
That's okay. Duck, and you know what's gonna help. You know what's gonna help?
What?
Consistency. Do it consistently.
Okay.
Do it consistently. Don't just do it because you think I got an attitude. Let's create a system where we can keep the attitudes limited because we are assisting and helping each other. I think one of the happiest homes are those where there is shared responsibilities.
I agree.
Where responsibilities are shared. We both tackle these things together. I do. I just feel like, especially if both people are working, absolutely. It just, it keeps, it just, hey, what it says is we're in this thing together, and we're operating and we're trying to keep and maintain this home together. It's not one-sided. So that's how you combat that. You won't, and this only applies if your wife is one that only has the cleanup attitude. Then just start helping. But I did notice this too, that I often got an attitude about something that I felt like I should have done, and because I didn't do it, I'm really mad at myself. Prime example about MJ and his clothes. So I was upset with him for not putting his clothes in the washroom the way I wanted them to. I don't like stuff on the floor. Like, don't throw stuff on the floor in the washroom. So because of that, I'm frustrated at him. And one time he said, Mom, you didn't tell me where to put them. You just said put them in the washroom. But I'm mad. And so I said, you know what? Calm down, Tori. I said, MJ, come here. Let me show you where. When you bring your dirty clothes in here, this is where I want you to put them. So I'm mad at him, but I'm really mad at myself for not communicating fully and completely with him about something I desired him to do. So sometimes the attitudes we have is not necessarily that you're mad sometimes at the other person. You're mad at yourself because you failed to do something.
That's right.
And because a need didn't get met, because you failed to communicate, you're just outwardly expressing your frustration with your own self. And you see that. I know that we're talking about women having attitudes, but I think for the brothers, you see that sometimes too, that their attitude isn't per se sometimes with you. It is, for some of my brothers, they're mad at themselves.
Absolutely. You know, and I want to get back to the guys shortly, but I think, you know, it's very important, you know, because some people are just attitudinal, you know, and
listen,
you know, and it's not the cleanup attitude. It's not the laundry attitude. It's not the, you know, work attitude. It's just the attitude persists.
And it makes me wonder what happened. You know, like what happened in your life where you are consistently in an attitude? Like, why are you living in a state of frustration? You live in a state of unmet needs, and you're upset because those needs aren't met. You cannot, it's almost like you cannot function in peace. You have to have like this inner turmoil going on. But when I encounter people like that, and I know some, I just look and I say, dang, there exists some really deep hurt there.
Yep.
There's some really deep pain going on there.
Yep. So in marriage, 'cause some brothers are listening now, and they say, okay, let's get to it. Let's get to it. My wife, keeps an attitude, and I'm frustrated by it.
Yeah.
And I want to speak to the ladies as well as the brothers, because sometimes ladies, this your husband's feeling like when you get these attitudes, he feel like he's in bondage. He feel like it's cruel and unusual punishment.
Oh wow.
He feels that it doesn't have to be this way. The Bible talks about this. The Bible says it's better for a man to live on the corner of a rooftop than to live in a home with a quarrelsome wife.
Not on the roof.
But on
Not
the
at
roof,
the peak of the roof.
but
On the corner.
Corner of
Per
rooftop.
near about to fall off.
That's right. Not in the middle, like where he has some type of sustainability, but on the corner of the rooftop, and some people think it's just
That's a mean statement.
living in a house with when the Bible talks about that, some people can see that as living in a house with a quarrelsome woman, a woman that's fighting, they want to argue all the time. But I also liken it to, maybe it's that she's not fighting, but she has an attitude. She's not saying anything, and that's to me a way that you can be quarrelsome as well, because you're not saying anything, you're shutting down, you're not talking, you're not communicating your frustration, you're not communicating your needs, you're not communicating your desires, and rather than communicate what while you're in an uproar or while you're frustrated, while you're not talking, you don't do that, and it's frustrating. And so the brothers are saying, like, why won't you just tell me what's wrong? And sometimes the wife, she would say, I told you before, as if she wasn't told over and over again.
Well, we sometimes forget that we too have been told something numerous times. We humans, we are some interesting,
Yes.
we are some interesting species. I think sometimes we just forget that we too have been told things over and over and over again, but we don't remember that when the attitude is on the rise. Yeah. And let me say this, because this is a revelation about my own self. And I have noticed that, and I'm working so hard on this. I noticed that when I think about myself, I sometimes will excuse certain things because I am aware of where my thing is coming from. But when it's somebody else, I'm not as gracious, because we tend to downplay how we show up in other people's lives, but we magnify how people and their issues show up in ours. And that is crazy to me. But really, when you really think about it, it does make you have more grace and extend more grace to people. Like, okay, well, Tori, you can let that go, because just like your thing is coming out of a place of hurt or a place of pain or a place of fear, what if theirs too is coming from a similar place? But we do that, and we even know that, though. Like, we know that, but I'm really trying to be intentional about practicing that. Like, really, really making that and keeping that at the forefront of my mind in my dealings and interactions with people. Now, I'm not excusing foolishness, but I am saying, there may be a rhyme or reason to some things, and maybe there's more. And I get to determine my level of interaction with that more or less. But yeah, just changing my perspective about certain things, or just really thinking about it like, dang, I express sometimes out of my own whatever that is, and I'm sure I give the people in my life some work sometimes because of where I may be. So,
and I think that's really good. I think what's really important is this is really getting your emotions in check, because oftentimes that's where the attitude come from. Is like not having your emotions in check, not knowing the proper way to deal with your frustrations or deal with your emotions.
Yes.
And it can become very frustrating.
Yes, very.
You look at when we talk about communication. This is so important because a lot of people think that communication is you're talking, so and only that. You talking, so that's communication. When I talk to you, I'm communicating with you, or we in dialogue with each other. But it said that in communication, it's only 7% verbal. 7% verbal. 38% of communication is how you say it. So 7% is what you say.
Okay.
38% is how you say what you say.
Okay.
And 55% of communication is nonverbal. I'm gonna say that again. 7% of communication is what you say. 38% of communication is how you say what you say. And 55% of communication is your body language. So you communicate a lot in what you say. You communicate more in what you don't say, in the attitude, in the huffing, in the puffing, in the being silent, in the being quick, in the being short, in the avoiding. You know, sometimes just avoiding, sometimes just pulling away, not talking, not communicating.
Being short with your words. Yes. No.
That's 55% of communication. And no one wants to live in a situation when, you know, like, why would I don't want to be around you because you're short with me. I don't want to be around you because you're avoiding me. I don't want to be around you because you're quick with me. I don't want to be around you because you're snappy. I don't want to be around you because you're quiet. Like, and so,
but oftentimes, let me challenge that.
Okay, but here's the thing, and it's frustrating, and especially when it's not communicated to the individual, to the spouse of why. If he knew why you were short, why you were avoiding, why you were quick, why you were, silent, then maybe that's the case. But sometimes attitudes will happen when there's very little or no communication about it. And so it's just, I don't even know why you upset. I don't even know why you mad.
Because, and two things just came to my
Come
mind.
on.
The first one is sometimes I don't even know why I'm upset. I don't know why I have an attitude. All I know is I felt a frustration on the inside of me, and I saw you, and it was just like, aha, you're going to be the one to get it. And that's first. And the other part is,
it's some brothers, when you said that, some brothers throwing their chairs right now. Some brothers going crazy. They saying, man, that's not fair. They are going ballistic.
And they have, they don't throw the chair, brother. But I fully understand the frustration with that, because it's, why are you giving me something that I don't even deserve that? Like, you don't have to give me attitude. You have told me that numerous times. Like, you don't have to give me attitude. Like, I'm not him. Like, go on, you can talk to me. You can tell me, and I'm gonna do better. And the other part, but I wasn't hearing that, because I'm like, and it was for this reason here. Because the attitude, you listening?
I'm listening.
The attitude did what I needed it to do. I knew I have had 30 some odd or 40 some odd years with training this attitude on what to do and what not to do. We have become very, very familiar with each other. I learned that if I want to get my way about certain things, that the attitude would accomplish that. And so it goes back to, we've said this numerous times, the behavior that you reward is what's repeated. Okay? Now, y'all got to hear me. You got to hear me. The attitudes, if I didn't want to be bothered with you because I didn't have the communication skills or the verbiage to communicate how I felt, then the attitude would keep you away from me. Mission accomplished. I didn't have to communicate. If I put up enough fight, you would leave me alone, and I would be able to sit in whatever I wanted to sit in. That's not in a healthy way. That's not managing it well. But in my broken mind, the attitude would accomplish exactly what I wanted it to accomplish. You getting out of my face. You getting away from me. Or if I would get the attitude about something that you told me no about. And if I put enough angry pressure on it, or if I have enough attitude, then eventually you would fold and be like, yeah, gone, just to keep the peace. Mission accomplished. Because the reward for my attitude was mission accomplished. Goal met. Got it. Got it. Now, when we function like that as women, we are really being manipulators. We are being very, very manipulative because we are using a tactic to get what we want instead of maturing and saying, let me get in touch with my emotions. Let me learn how to communicate what I feel. Let me actually slow down and become aware of how I really feel and stop functioning in this place of where I'm supposed to be functioning, and throw all of that away. Throw perfectionism, throw somebody else's standards, somebody else's expectations, throw all of that stuff out the window and say, how do I really feel about this? How do I like this or do I not like this? Is there something going on inside of me? Is there a part of me that probably needs to be healed? Is this my rejection talking? Is this my fear talking? Is this what is this talking? What is this speaking up in me?
But see, I think when we talk about that, when that happens, even though sometimes this was used the wife may feel like their behavior is being, and I know you say it's from a broken place, but what I want to encourage her is you have to stop that and you have to get that fixed.
I know, but sometimes, hear me though.
No,
like, sometimes we don't know that that's broken. We don't know that that's broken.
And so what I want to encourage you is
to find out what's broken.
To find out what's broken and
Correct.
to get that healed, because he understands that you're manipulating. He knows it.
Right.
Or maybe he doesn't know that verbiage that he's being manipulated, but he doesn't like it. And when that happens and it's consistent, he feels that, you're taking me for granted. You don't really care about me. I don't want to be here. Like, and so you can't take this man for granted. He's feeling, I don't want to be in your presence because it's not pleasant in your presence. It's not present. It's when I'm out, when I'm at work, or when I'm wherever I am, it's pleasant. But I come home to this unpleasant place. Be it you're nagging and complaining, or be it you're not saying anything, and I'm on punishment because you won't speak to me. And oftentimes it's a correlation. When you're not speaking to me, then you're not giving me any sex.
Oh, that would be correct.
And you're not giving me an affection. And so these things go together. So an attitude to him looks like, oh yeah, it's a lonely night.
Yeah.
Attitude to him looks like, oh yeah, here we go again. And sometimes he understands. So the attitude could be because you're trying to prevent something, from happening. And so the frustration, this is what I want to get ladies to understand. When you do that, you make the environment very unpleasant, and it can help open up the doors for something that's not favorable to you. And don't take that for granted. He chose you. You're his wife. You're his woman. He wants the love. He wants the support. He wants the encouragement. He wants the affirmation. He wants you to communicate, not for you to be happy every day, all day, and not have any frustrations, and not be a woman and not have any emotions, but get in touch with those emotions and articulate to him.
Learn to
what your concerns are. And I think it boils down to EQ, having the emotional quotient to be able to get in touch with how you feel and communicate thoroughly how you're feeling. I just remember, just over the last couple of years, I got in a place in my life to where, when I had an interaction with someone, I would really go and say, okay, how did I just feel about that interaction? Like, I need to put this in a place. Like, it wasn't cool. I really didn't like it. And I had to pause to really think about, how did that interaction just make me feel? Right. And I got in touch with myself in terms of how I felt about that interaction. Right. Then I was able to articulate it with that person or with myself or whatever, or I was able to communicate that or process that properly. And sometime in marriage, you don't know how to get in touch with how you feel. And you don't know how to process how you feel, and you don't know how to communicate how you feel to your spouse. Yeah. And when that's the case, it causes friction, frustration, contention, and just potentially devastation in your marriage. Yeah. And you know, how do we get to this place? How do we get to this place? And oftentimes it's because you didn't have the EQ, the emotional intelligence, the emotional quotient to be able to get in touch with how you feel and to articulate that. And sometimes it's because things are familiar. You came from a situation where there were attitudes and communication took place a certain way. And so when there's no healing from that, you bring what happened in your childhood into your marriage. And when you bring that into your marriage, you don't understand how it's affecting someone. And now this brother is saying, I don't want to be here. Or he's saying like, I don't want to be here, or I want something else, or I want out. Now you're feeling some kind of way and you don't know how it happened. I've helped you. I've supported you. I've been here. Yeah, but you've not made this experience pleasant because you failed to communicate with me how it is that you feel. And rather than you really getting the healing and being able to articulate what it is that you're feeling in a way that's not damaging, you chose not to do so. When you don't get healed from that, you bring these issues into your marriage. And you feel like, I'm a good person. I give. I'm loving. I'm a great mom. I'm a great wife. But he feels that
he still want to get on the corner of that rooftop.
I want to go. I want to go on the corner because I don't want to be avoided. I don't want to be, manipulated. I don't want you to be quick with me. I don't want you to be, I rather go in the man cave. I'd rather go on the corner of a rooftop. I'd rather take another shift. I'd rather take the long way home. And that's if he's kingdom. Those are some of the things that he would look to do if he's kingdom. But if he's not, then I want to. You know how Sally get him? Sally get him because Sally's not giving him an attitude. Because Sally's going to talk to him. Because Sally's going to be nice. And we don't condone Sally. We don't want Sally at all.
Sally just got him a few times. During the week. And that's right. Cause Sally don't really know the real him. She don't see his drawers in the floor. She don't see him not washing the dish. She don't see that. But oftentimes when the attitude persists, he just want a little peace for a moment. And the cleanup woman is right there. So ladies, don't let Sally get Sam because you silly with the attitude. Well,
I want to say this, and then but before we leave, oftentimes as well, you have, because it's not only the wife that get an attitude.
There's
some ladies out here is like, I couldn't wait until this part right here, because there's some brothers that get attitudes and their wife is frustrated because they get attitudes and they don't know how to communicate well, and they get upset and angry, and they get in their feelings, and they shut down, and they don't talk, and they punch walls, and they drive off, and they get mad, and they don't communicate, and they leave the house, and they leave late at night, and their wife is not with them intimately, and they get so frustrated, and they just leave, and then they turn their locations off, and she don't know where he is, and then they frustrated, and some of them may spend the night. I mean, just these different things because of their low EQ and not knowing how to communicate their frustrations. This is what happens.
Same rules apply. When we don't learn, when we don't learn the right way to do things, we live and function in a place of doing it the wrong way. And we would consider that normal. So that's why, whether it's man or woman, we have got to learn to, for one, become aware of who we are, our attitudes, what's existing, what's going on inside of us. And if there is something that you need to get help with, learning to communicate, learning to regulate your emotions. When they get to a 10, it's learning to catch them before you get to the 10. It's regulating them. How do you regulate them? It's, let me calm down. Let me think before I speak. Let me take a moment. Okay. Getting in touch much quicker. How do I feel? How am I feeling? Okay, I'm feeling anger, but I don't have to respond this way. Those are things you have to learn to do. It's something you have to put into practice. And that's a part of just being aware of what's going on in you, and even understanding how what has gone on around you is affecting or has affected what's going on inside of you. And honestly, we just simply need to be healed. That's it. If you are a believer, then it is really leaning into our balm in Gilead, our Jesus, who came to heal, leaning into that. Lord, I allow you. I'm opening this door for you to heal this part of me. I know that this part of me is broken. I am responding this way, and that's not my desired response. Help me. And sometimes you may be led to go and get some other help, but
Absolutely.
yeah.
Yeah, I think counseling is always in order.
Absolutely.
The Bible says, be swift to hear, slow to speak,
Yes.
and slow to become angry.
Yeah.
Let me say that again. It says, be swift to hear, be slow to speak, and slow to become angry.
Yeah.
That's a way of being healed and not being led by your emotions.
Yep.
Because some brothers are led by their emotions, and they're not quick to hear.
Yep.
And they're not slow to speak. And sometimes wives are struggling and suffering in silence because you're silent, because you won't say anything, about it. And so she feel that, man, I gotta, are you a man or not? You have more attitudes than me. It seemed like, that once a month thing happened with you, and so those things that causes frustration when a brother can't communicate. But ladies, let me tell you, sometimes he's not able to communicate because of what happened in his childhood, and he wasn't able to communicate there. That's why prior to marriage, you have to understand you have to make sure that you say yes to the right one.
Yeah.
Because if he can't communicate, or if he has anger issues and he doesn't know how to resolve conflict, there's going to be a lot of frustrating days in your marriage. So you have to know, how do you resolve conflict? How do you handle your anger? How do you communicate? What is your body language? Some brothers can't read. And it's frustrating. And so sometimes they take out their anger on their wife.
Yes.
Again, what you said earlier,
Yeah.
it's not that they're upset with you per se. They're upset with themselves.
Absolutely.
They don't love themselves.
Yes.
And because they don't love themselves, they don't love
Yes.
the closest thing to them.
Yes.
It's the closest person to them that they take it out
It's
on.
impossible.
On
You
their
can't
wife,
give me
on
what
their
you don't
children,
have.
on their parent,
Can't give it to
What's
me.
the relationship with his mom?
Yes.
What's the
It's
relationship
important.
with his dad? If it's anger and bitterness there, you have to look at that. And so
Yeah.
sometimes you're already married. So this pre-marriage, but
Yeah.
sometimes when you're already married, you have to know that, and you can't step out and say, I want to terminate the marriage because of these issues. It's just, you have to understand these things. We have to work together. You have to know what's driving certain attitudes, what's driving certain things, and try for whoever, if your spouse, is, bottom line, if it's the male or the female, you want to help lead them to a place of healing. You can't be the healing, but you can help them with the healing. If she if she have a persistent attitude, or he has a persistent attitude, then it's your responsibility to help them get into a place of healing, to get into the hands of the Savior, or to get into counseling through the hands of the Savior.
Yeah.
Because if that is not healed,
Yes,
that
sir.
attitude will persist, and
Yes,
you will
sir.
always be in a place of frustration.
Yes, sir.
And so we titled this, Why Does My Spouse Always Have an Attitude? And I want to say this. Maybe your spouse doesn't always have one, because you have to be careful with those words.
Yeah.
Always.
Yeah.
No, she doesn't always have an attitude. He doesn't always have an attitude. We just gave this title, but why does my spouse have an attitude often? And so even when you communicate with your spouse, that's not the correct verbiage. It's
Correct.
why do you always have an
have
attitude?
right.
It's, baby, my concern is that you have an attitude often, and I want to talk about that. But your attitude definitely affect your spouse. So if you're that person, be sure that you get the proper healing that you need in order for you to be pleasant, in order for the relationship to be amazing, in order for your IQ to really develop, and you can communicate what you need to communicate, how it need to be communicated.
Correct.
So that you can have an effective, thriving marriage.
Amen. That was good stuff.
It was.
Well, y'all, that's all we have for today. Thank you so much for being here with us and for tuning in. And as always,
Don't just start in love.
but stay in love. Bye, y'all.
Peace.
Thank you for listening to the Still in Love podcast. We hope that you have enjoyed this episode and it has indeed blessed your life. If it has, we need you to do 3 things for us. 1, we want you to subscribe to this podcast on your favorite platform, so that way you can be notified when a new episode drops. Number 2, we want you to review it. Click on that 5-star and let us know how much you enjoyed it. We absolutely love feedback here at the Still in Love podcast, and this helps us to make sure that we are scratching where there's an itch. And number 3, we want you to share it with a friend or family member. Also, if you have a question, we'd love to hear it and even talk about it right here on the podcast. You can submit those questions at stillinlovepodcast.com. You can also connect with us on Facebook and Instagram at Innovation Church Memphis and on TikTok at We Are Innovation. Until next time, peace.
Don't just start in love,
but stay in love.
Thanks for tuning in to Still in Love podcast. God